All right, hopefully you have your new notes pages open. Um, if you don't have those, you can find them under week 5 because it is still week 5. Um, and we are starting a new unit. We are starting Unit 2. And Unit 2 is called The Americas, and it's actually split into 2 parts. And so the first part we're going to be talking about is North America. And for this class, we are going to be studying North America as um, Canada and the United States. I know that when we label North America on a map, it also includes like Mexico and Central America, but we're going to study that as a separate unit or a separate part within this unit. So just for now, in this unit, when we're talking about North America and patterns and such, just know that we are talking about the United States and Canada for the time being. So your first essential question is what factors influence North American climate regions, and how does this affect population distribution and economic development? So we are going to look at how the North American climate affects its population distribution and economic development. So that's the question that you should be able to answer by the end of this lesson. So in general, factors that influence climate are latitude, elevation, nearby water, ocean currents, topography, vegetation, and prevailing winds. Latitude is how far north or how far south a piece of land is on the globe. Elevation is on that piece of land, how far above sea level is it? Nearby water, that's pretty self-explanatory. Ocean currents. Different types of ocean currents bring different temperatures and winds, so that's how that affects the climate. Topography is like, is the land flat? Is it, is there a lot of rivers? Like the land forms on the land. Vegetation, so is it good for growing things? And then prevailing winds. So those factors influence climate, and I'm not going to get into each one of those super detailed, but what you need to know is that North America's climate is about as perfect as you can get as far as population distribution goes and economic development. All right, so North America's climate and geography provide it with extreme advantages when compared to the rest of the world. We're going to look at, how that has kind of turned into advantages. But North America has almost like every climate type within its land, within its land mass, and so it benefits greatly from its fertile soils, plentiful fresh water, oil and mineral deposits, and forests. So North America it has a big advantage over the rest of the world simply because it has a pretty perfect climate. Um, so, and that's important because people want to live where they can survive with relative ease and comfort. All right, so when looking at population distribution, which is what we're going to look at next, and thinking about why people want to live there, just like how you would pick where you want to live. You want to live where you can survive with relative ease and comfort. And North America has a lot of places where people can survive with relative ease and comfort. So this is the population distribution of North America. Population distribution is where people live. That's all it is. It's how the people are distributed over a piece of land. And so you can see here, most of North America's population distribution is in America. But if you follow my mouse, everything above this line is Canada. So you can see there are clusters of population in Canada. Obviously, people live there, but most of the population distribution in North America is found in America, or in the United States, I should say. And you can tell they pretty much live everywhere. Like, there's not really a spot where absolutely nobody lives. Population distribution spreads out over here because you have like mountains and some desert area. But for the most part, like, there's not a specific region where like nobody lives. So, and that's because of North America's climate. It has a very moderate climate that produces a great place for people to live with relative ease and comfort. Like, once again, like I said, North America's climate and geography provide it with extreme advantages when compared to the rest of the world. People can live here with relative ease and comfort because a vast variety of available natural resources has allowed the North American economies to advance and develop. So, the countries in North America have been able to advance and develop because its climate has provided it with an abundance of natural resources. All right, so almost every type of ecosystem is represented somewhere on the continent, from coral reefs in the Caribbean to the ice sheet in Greenland. So, almost like we talked about, almost every climate type and ecosystem type are represented in North America. The differences contribute to North America's variety of natural resource industries: agriculture, forestry, and mining and drilling. Because of all of these different types of ecosystems, the United States has had a lot of success in the agriculture industry, which is, growing of crops and stuff like that. In the forestry industry, which is, cutting and selling trees. And then in mining and drilling. Mining and drilling is actually the United States' biggest economic industry. North America is a leading producer of coal, bauxite, which is used in aluminum, iron, copper, and nickel. The United States, Canada, and Mexico are also among the world's top oil producers. I know that we said we were talking about the US and Canada. We are, but I just had to put that in there. So, because of the vast amount of ecosystems and climate types, the North American economies have been able to differentiate and develop all of these industries and not just, focus on one of them, as a lot of countries have to do. So, and I want to go back to this just because in Unit 1 at the very end, we talked about, the unequal distribution of resources and what that causes. And one of them was just, some countries end up being rich and some countries end up being poor. And we are very fortunate that the North American continent has a lot of those natural resources. And so the United States and Canada have been able to develop into those more wealthier countries. North America's high level of economic development has promoted the construction of megacities, which is an urban area with at least 10 million people. This would be like New York City, Los Angeles, super big cities like that. Engineering marvels, so the Panama Canal, the Hoover Dam, and then the CN Tower, which is in Canada, but it is it's the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. And advanced infrastructure like public transportation. The subway system in New York City that's underground was like super advanced when it was invented. But all of these things have been able to happen. All of these kind of crazy, like, things that we think are normal, but we know other countries don't have or other places don't have, because our economy has been able to develop because we have so many natural resources, and we've been able to, grow the food that we need and then sell the extra for money and all of that kind of stuff, which pretty much gives people more time to do stuff other than grow crops and survive. So we have things like colleges and universities, and that teach people creativity and the skills to be able to do these new things, because over here on this continent, we're not focused on surviving. We're not just, planting food and hoping we survive. So we've had extra time to pretty much grow the economy. So I'm going to show you a couple of these videos on how the climate has also affected the economy.
The United States of America encompasses territory spanning from the Arctic Circle and Central Pacific to the Gulf of Mexico and the North Atlantic. The Greater Mississippi Basin is the United States' core and serves as the underpinning of its role as a global superpower. The basin hosts an extensive network of navigable rivers that overlay the world's largest contiguous piece of arable land. This naturally interconnected river system facilitated integration among settlers and allowed for cheap transport of goods, providing the United States with the ability to feed itself efficiently and rapidly build up industry and capital to expand west. The Midwestern core gave early America strategic depth, while an expanding U.S. coastline, naturally indented with deep harbors, provided its opening to the world. After reaching the Pacific coast in the mid-19th century, the U.S. found itself insulated by two oceans. On the continent itself, geography again has worked in the country's favor. Lakes to the north and deserts to the south insulate the United States' population centers, with both Canada and Mexico facing too many natural constraints of their own to seriously rival it. This unparalleled level of wealth and protection gives the United States options that no other country can claim. For one, the United States has used its wealth and security to build the world's largest navy. Control of the world's major sea lanes gives the United States the power to facilitate or deny trade to allies or rivals of the day. The onus, therefore, is on the United States to carefully manage its engagements abroad and build up strategic allies to protect its overseas interests and preserve its strength at home. Located on the North American continent, Canada is the world's second largest country. Most of Canada is uninhabited wilderness, and Arctic temperatures make the Northern Territories inhospitable to large population centers. Canada became independent from the United Kingdom in 1867. The country is made up of 10 provinces and 3 territories. The majority of Canada's 35 million people reside within 100 kilometers of the US border, where the climate and topography support meaningful populations. However, this population is spread across a distance of roughly 7,000 kilometers from the Atlantic to the Pacific Oceans. Canada's primary geographic challenge is maintaining unity across its diverse population cores, which include Toronto and Montreal in the Great Lakes watershed, the prairie provinces of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, and Vancouver on the Pacific coast. The economies of these population cores are geared toward external trade as they try to meet demand for their services, manufactured goods, and natural resources like oil. Heavy crude oil found largely in the province of Alberta is exported to US and international markets, making Canada the world's 6th largest oil producer. Distance and climate are perennial challenges for Canada. The Trans-Canada Railway was Ottawa's first effort, completed in 1886, to link Montreal, Toronto, the Prairies, and Vancouver. Redistribution payments collected from resource-rich provinces and dispersed to resource-poor provinces and territories is a contemporary policy aimed to unify and equalize provincial and territorial finances. Because of its location, Canada is well within the U.S. sphere of influence, and the country's freedom to act is constrained by U.S. interests.
Right, if you need to go back and rewatch those videos, do so, because there's a lot of good points in there that are fair game for your test. So you should be using those to add to your notes. So if you need to go back and rewatch them, go ahead and do that. But for now, you need to answer this question in the summary of your notes. What factors influence North American climate regions, and how does this affect population distribution and economic development?